Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Horror Lore Files. We all know that classic horror line, based on a true story. It sends a shiver down your spine, doesn't it? Knowing that the terror you're seeing on screen might have actually happened. Well, everyone knows about The Conjuring or The Exorcism of Emily Rose. There's a whole world of terrifying films inspired by real events that fly under the radar. Today, we're digging deep into the archives to uncover 10 incredible horror movies you probably didn't know were based on chilling true stories. Get ready because reality is about to get a whole lot scarier. First up, let's talk about the 2014 film, The Town That Dreaded Sundown. This isn't the 1976 original, but a meta-sequel that's just as creepy. The plot follows a modern-day series of murders in Texarkana that mimic the real-life Phantom Killer attacks from 1946. This mass killer terrorized the town, attacking couples in secluded areas, and was never caught. The film brilliantly blends fiction with the terrifying facts of this unsolved case. Critics praised its clever meta-narrative and suspense, while audiences were left with the unsettling feeling that the real Phantom Killer could have been anyone. It's a stark reminder that some monsters are very, very real. Next, we have the 2007 film, The Girl Next Door. A word of warning, this one is not for the faint of heart. It's a truly disturbing movie that's difficult to watch, but its real-life inspiration is even more horrific. The film is based on the 1965 torture and murder of Sylvia Likens in Indianapolis. Sylvia was left in the care of Gertrude Banishevsky, who, along with her own children and other neighborhood kids, subjected Sylvia to months of unimaginable abuse in her basement. The film is a brutal and unflinching look at the capacity for human cruelty. While it was praised for its powerful performances and refusal to shy away from the grim reality, many viewers found it too intense and profoundly depressing. It's a film that will stick with you long after the credits roll. Let's move on to something a bit more supernatural with the 2012 film, The Possession. This movie follows a young girl who becomes obsessed with an antique wooden box she buys at a yard sale. Soon, her behavior becomes increasingly erratic and violent, leading her family to believe she's been possessed by a malevolent spirit trapped inside the box. The real story here is the legend of the Dybbuk box. This wine cabinet, supposedly haunted by a restless spirit from Jewish folklore, was first sold on eBay by a man named Kevin Mannis. He detailed the strange and terrifying events that plagued him and subsequent owners, from unexplained illnesses to terrifying nightmares. While the film takes creative liberties, it captures the core dread of an object with a dark past. It received mixed reviews, but audiences loved the unique premise rooted in Jewish folklore, a refreshing change from the usual Christian-centric possession stories. Number 4 on our list is the 2003 Australian shocker, Wolf Creek. Two British backpackers and an Australian man find themselves stranded in the outback after their car breaks down. A seemingly friendly local, Mick Taylor, offers to help, but his hospitality soon turns into a sadistic game of survival. This terrifying story is a composite of two real-life Australian crimes. The first is the case of Ivan Millet, the backpacker murderer, who preyed on tourists in the 90s. The second is the 2001 abduction of British tourist Peter Falconio by Bradley Murdoch. The film's villain, Mick Taylor, is an amalgamation of these two killers. Wolf Creek was lauded for its raw, gritty realism and John Jarrett's terrifying performance as Mick. It became a cultural phenomenon in Australia, tapping into the very real fear of the vast, unforgiving outback and the dangers that could be lurking within it. Next up, the 2005 German film Requiem. Unlike most exorcism movies, this one is a quiet, character-driven drama. It tells the story of Michaela, a young woman with epilepsy who, after a religious upbringing, comes to believe she is possessed by demons. She forgoes medical treatment in favor of an exorcism, with tragic consequences. This film is a direct dramatization of the real, infamous case of Anneliese Michel, a German woman who died in 1976 from malnutrition and dehydration after undergoing 67 exorcism rites over 10 months. Her parents and the two priests involved were found guilty of negligent homicide. The film was critically acclaimed for its sensitive and heartbreaking portrayal of a woman caught between faith, mental illness, and family pressure. It avoids sensationalism, focusing instead on the psychological and social factors that led to this tragedy, making it profoundly more unsettling than any jump scare. Shifting gears, we have the 1980 film, The Changeling, starring George C. Scott. After the tragic death of his wife and daughter, a composer moves into a secluded, historic mansion in Seattle. He soon begins to experience strange phenomena, banging pipes, shattering windows, and a child's ghostly voice. He uncovers the story of a sickly boy who was murdered in the house decades earlier and replaced with an orphan to secure an inheritance. This classic haunted house story is based on the experiences of playwright Russell Hunter. He claimed to have lived in a Denver mansion where he discovered a hidden diary detailing a similar tragic story. He even said he conducted a seance and uncovered the truth about the long-dead child. The Changeling is considered one of the best ghost stories ever put to film. It relies on atmosphere and psychological dread rather than gore, and its slow-burn mystery has terrified audiences for decades. Number 7 is the 2014 indie horror film Starry Eyes. It's a cautionary tale about the dark side of Hollywood ambition. An aspiring actress named Sarah will do anything to make it big. After a series of bizarre auditions, she gets a role from a mysterious production company that seems more like a cult. The price of fame, however, involves a gruesome and terrifying physical and psychological transformation. While not a direct adaptation of one event, the film is heavily inspired by the persistent rumors and conspiracy theories about secret occult societies, like a supposed Hollywood Illuminati that demand dark sacrifices in exchange for fame and fortune. Critics praised its body horror elements and its sharp satire of the film industry. It struck a chord with viewers who found its depiction of desperate ambition and exploitation to be disturbingly plausible. Let's venture into the wilderness with the 2014 film Backcountry. A couple goes camping in the Canadian wilderness, but their romantic getaway turns into a fight for survival when they get lost and are stalked by a predatory black bear. This film is a pure, primal tale of survival horror. It's based on the true story of Jacqueline Perry and Mark Jordan, a couple who were attacked by a bear in a Canadian provincial park in 2005. The film is known for its incredible tension and its brutally realistic bear attack sequence. Instead of a monster, the threat is a real animal acting on instinct. Audiences and critics were terrified by its realism. It doesn't rely on supernatural elements. It plays on the very real fear of being lost, vulnerable, and at the mercy of nature. It'll make you think twice about your next camping trip. Our 9th film is the 2008 British horror movie, Eden Lake. A young couple's weekend trip to a remote lake is ruined when they re-terrorized by a vicious gang of teenagers. What starts as petty annoyance escalates into extreme violence and a desperate struggle to escape. The film was inspired by a rise in what the British media dubbed Broken Britain, a sense of growing anxiety over youth crime, antisocial behavior, and a perceived decline in social order during the mid-2000s. It wasn't based on a single case, but on a societal fear. Eden Lake is notoriously bleak and nihilistic. It received acclaim for its unrelenting tension and social commentary, but many viewers found its brutality and hopeless ending almost unbearable. It is a film that sparks debate and leaves you feeling deeply disturbed about the dark side of society. Finally, we have the 1972 classic, The Last House on the Left. 2 teenage girls on their way to a concert are kidnapped, tortured, and murdered by a gang of escaped convicts. In a cruel twist of fate, The killers unknowingly seek refuge at the home of one of their victims' parents, who then enact a brutal and bloody revenge. Wes Craven's directorial debut was inspired by the 1960s Swedish film The Virgin Spring, which itself is based on a medieval Swedish ballad, Terskar I Wunsch. The ballad tells the story of a father avenging the murder of his daughter. While fictional, Craven's film tapped into the anxieties of its era, reflecting a loss of innocence and the fear of random, senseless violence that felt all too real in the early 70s. The film was controversial for its graphic content, but has since become a landmark in the exploitation and revenge genres, praised for its raw power and unflinching look at the cycle of violence. And there you have it, 10 terrifying horror films made all the more chilling because they're rooted in reality. From unsolved mysteries to tragic true crime and societal fears, these movies prove that the most frightening stories are often the ones that have already happened. Which of these true stories surprised you the most? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this deep dive into horror history, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more content. Stay safe out there.